Hey there. Hopefully you can hear me over the sound of this flowing water. Just feeling the Lord inviting me to speak a little bit about one of the tactics of the enemy in our day and age. The scriptures talk about how in the last days the devil will try to convince people to think that there is no devil. And I know growing up I used to think that meant that people who didn't believe in God would believe that there wasn't a devil. Like, oh yeah, the devil, he doesn't exist. And that was one of Satan's tactics. Now that could be one of his tactics, but I think in a more widespread sense, when we see this tactic used by people who do not believe that there is objective truth. Because the word devil means slanderer in the Greek. And so, yes, like Diablo, it's slanderer. And so to say that there is no devil is another way of saying there are no lies. Or in other words, there are no untruths. So when we're learning things, different claims are made about the world and situations and different valuations of what is good and what is bad. Some people will be persuaded by rhetoric to believe one thing over another, and other people will be resilient against the rhetoric and will look at the facts. They'll look at the data, they'll look at what is true to form opinions and beliefs. And when you put two of these people together, so the rhetoric believer and the facts believer, and you get them in a conversation together, one might say to the facts-based person might say to the feelings-based person or the rhetoric-based person, why don't you care about what the data shows? Why are you unable to be persuaded in light of all of these facts on some issue? And their response might be, well, there's so much data, it can be twisted either way. We can't actually know what's true. So it's just a matter of perspective. There isn't really a right way to think about these things. Now, I'm not trying to diminish the fact that some things are complicated and there are multiple angles to approach issues from. But if deep down someone believes that, well, either way you look at it is appropriate. In other words, there is no lie, there is no untruth, there is no right way, there is no truth. It's the same as saying there is no devil. So it's important that we actually stay alert to what can be shown to be true. And that if someone claims something and we're persuaded by their rhetoric, that we don't just take it based off of the emotional appeal, but we actually say, like, now wait a second, that claim you're making, what is it based on? Is it borne out by the empirical evidence? Because if it's not, then it could be false. And that if we're gonna believe a lie, that could hurt us. I mean, it's obvious. I don't need to say why it's bad to believe a lie. But I see this. I mean, yeah, you'll see in our society people who do not believe in a literal devil, but much more widespread, even among so-called believers, is the idea that any perspective is valid and that you don't need empirical evidence to substantiate a claim about some of the more carnal things like politics or economics or, what tends towards a good life. So God is the God of truth. We live in a day where people call good evil and evil good. And yes, the devil is real. And that's not to strike fear in our hearts, but it's just to remind us of the other opposite and equal, truth. That is that truth is real. There is truth. God is real. And he will vindicate his word. And so we might have to take some things on trust, but we can always go to him and he'll give us the evidence. Because he makes sense. And now that doesn't mean we're always going to understand him. Maybe some of the sense making will happen in hindsight. But yeah, so that's my those are the thoughts on my heart about the saying, there is no devil. So God be with you. Hope you have a blessed day.